Hello, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the Chair Sessions with Dr. D. I'm ecstatic today to have Jersey Shore singer and songwriter Renee Maskin. Renee is entrenched in the Asbury Park music scene. She's released a number of solo LPs, and she's opened for a number of national touring acts. With her former group Lowlight, she's toured in support of the Pretenders. Renee was named Songwriter of the Year in 2023 by New Jersey Stage Magazine, and her 2023 album 𝘙𝑀𝑟 was named one of the 2023's top national albums by the Aquarian magazine. So, welcome, Renee. So
Hey,
glad to
what's
have
up,
you here with
Dr.
us
D?
today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so it seems like you've got a lot going on with the release of the new LP. What I'd like to do today really is just really start a little bit from the beginning and give our listeners who aren't acquainted with you some background.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. Well, I've been playing music since I was 13, and the first thing I did when I learned a power chord was write a song, and it was a pretty terrible song. And then the other first thing I did was start a band after my first lesson, even though none of us could play. So I think, I've been pretty driven in the same direction since I was a kid, and all of these many years later, have had really a lot of luck and a lot of good times and a lot of hard work. But I remember being that age and thinking to myself, like hopefully one day I get to go on tour and open for like a famous band. That would be the pinnacle, right? And I managed to do it. So, and then I'm putting out lots of records and working on a lot of projects. So just spinning a lot of plates, as you probably understand.
yeah, so tell us about. I want to back up just a little bit. Tell us about the highlight of touring, opening up for some bands. What are some highlights?
Well, I mean, The Pretenders was definitely
Sure.
like the highlight of my musical experience so far. And that was amazing. And that really came about in this sort of Hollywood, you can't make it up kind of way. We were invited to open for The Pretenders at the Count Basie Theater. And at the end of the show, it was late at night. We were all down in the basement where there's like kind of a common area. And Christy Hynde was across the room. And I said to the person next to me, I want to go say hi to Christy Hynde. And I said hello, and she kind of gave me like dagger eyes. And um, and then I said, hey, we were just the opening band, and I just wanted to come and say thank you. And she immediately softened up, and we started talking about music and Asbury Park. Uh, and then cut to they came back to New York to Terminal 5, and their manager wanted an expensive, like, old 70s punk band. And Chrissy Hines says, so why don't we get that band from Jersey? And so we got to come back. And then later that year, they did a small tour in the Northeast, and we were invited to come along. So what my favorite part about that story, other than, getting to share these awesome stages with an iconic band, was that it came from saying thank you. Like it wasn't from like social climbing or being like, whatever, all these things that people think they have to do to get an opportunity. I just went up and said thank you. And suddenly we found ourselves on tour.
Wow. The power of gratitude and authenticity.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to
It's
do it.
it's one of those affirming things. It's like, oh, that does happen. You don't have to just take the low road. Like if you just, show a little graciousness, sometimes that's a million times more powerful than
Ab-
anything else you could do.
Absolutely. That's I think that's where the magic kind of, starts, and it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was cool. When we went on tour, she took care of our band a little bit. She's an interesting character. She's notoriously tough, but she wanted our sound to be good, so she put her sound people on our band to make sure we were sounded great every night. And she let us keep our merch money. Some bands, they want to take a cut because they don't want you undercutting their sales, and she just let us do our thing. So she was really kind of the coolest. It was just an awesome experience.
That's fantastic. That's really
Yeah.
fantastic. Was she one of your influences? Talk
Well,
about your influences. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, she kind of became one later. when I was 13, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I sort of listened to everything, and that was popular at the time, which was none of it was very good. And then by the time I got to college, I discovered David Bowie, which was the sort of game changer for me. In that way that can only happen when you're like 17, like you just discover something and it blows your mind and it opens up whole worlds for you. And from him, I was diving into the Velvet Underground, and then I was also getting into Brian Eno and all the krautrock deep cut, like German 70s stuff, and just kind of getting all over the place. So that's really where I think I started developing my tastes. And then cut to after college, I moved to Brooklyn for a couple of years, and I did this very stereotypical thing where I moved to the big city and then started listening to a lot of country music. So I was
Wow.
yeah, I was listening to a lot of Townes Van Zandt and Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash, and then so I was started on this journey of mine to try to take all of the things I learned from David Bowie and all the textures and the sort of artsy fartsy things that he would do, and then take all of these really just beautifully, concisely written things you learn from country songs and try to put them together. And it's still every day I wake up and I play and I write, and every day is just trying to take those things and find new ways to meld them.
Wow. The creative part, the writing part, do you have a certain way that you write, certain um, style or certain environment that you know, as far as writing goes, or?
Yeah, well, I kind of ascribe to the Nick Cave thing of you write every day whether you feel inspired or not, because his inspiration is sort of like this fickle, fleeting thing. So you put the work in. So I wake up really early in the morning, and I write with coffee and an acoustic guitar, and I do that, yeah, every day. And the songs end up, different from day to day. Some things get thrown out, never returned to, and some things really stick and become songs that make it to records. And I also keep a little amplifier under my desk so that during the day, if I have the chance to plug in an electric guitar and see what I come up with on those, I do that. But the morning time is really the time that's solely dedicated for writing.
Kind of wake up and start fresh with see what's resonating.
Yeah, and it's really an uninterrupted. I work a day job and I do 1,000 things, and at any point of the day, I've got phone calls and emails and text messages, like everybody, right?
Yeah, caught up, right?
Yeah, yeah. So if I get up early enough, like 5:30 at 6 in the morning, and I just drink my coffee, nobody's awake, nobody's listening to me, nobody's bothering me, and that's what I do.
That's your quiet, creative time.
Yeah.
Right. You were talking about living in the city. So, uh, what brought you back to Asbury Park?
Well, I had moved to the city thinking that that's where music and art was, right? And in my sort of young mind, I was like, I want to be closer to David Bowie, so I'm going to move to the city. And I spent a couple years there, and it was fun. It was a really cool, fun time in my life. But I started to realize that I needed more nature than I ever thought I did. Like when you're really in the city all the time. And then I would come back to visit my parents in Metuchen, New Jersey, and get off the train and smell the grass and hear the crickets and go like, oh, this is amazing. And when I was like, oh, Metuchen feels amazing. I think I've had enough of the city if the suburbs are feeling like this, like, next level experience. So I had been spending time in Asbury Park anyway, coming down to, check out the music scene and the art scene here too. So I was like, well, if I'm starting to run out of steam on living in the city, let me try, Asbury Park. And in my mind, I was like, the worst that'll happen is I won't like it. In a couple of years, I'll move somewhere else. But I've been here for 11 years now. So
What's your take on Asbury Park right now?
it's changed, and but I still love it. I mean, if I'm going to be in New Jersey, I'm going to be right here, and I have no aspirations to move back to New York City. There's a really beautiful vibrant scene here. I really feel like it's still kind of getting its sea legs back after the pandemic, and the loss of certain places like the Saint, and then certain businesses changing over and sort of figuring out what they are. And bands too. Lots of bands broke up. My band broke up. Other bands did too. So, but I love it here. It's the perfect combination of the ocean and the city with the art and the grit, but it's got kind of like everything that you need. Just for
Agreed.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. And the ocean and the grit. You really,
Hmm.
that really is a good way to characterize it. And you know, and I, we're watching all these buildings going up in Asbury, all these condos and high rise
Yeah.
things, these luxury apartments and things, and they're beautiful.
Mhm.
But like you said, the scene is thriving, and the grit. We don't want to lose too much of that grit, do we?
Yeah, it's a careful balance.
It,
And what a
yeah. Yep.
what a weird place. I mean, I felt it in I was in Williamsburg, right on Bedford Avenue, and I felt it, 11 years ago when I was there, and it's changed since then. And I feel it here too. It's kind of strange that you can go and get your coffee and be surrounded by, a bunch of homeless people, and then walk a couple blocks and you're by $1 million high rise where you could never afford in, your lifetime. And it's
Yeah.
just like, where are we living?
Yeah. And it's like it's it's our city by the sea.
Yeah, yeah,
Really.
totally.
And it's definitely thriving. It's still kind of finding itself.
Yeah,
And reinventing itself. I mean, Asbury Park is, if you look historically at it, um, there's a big, renaissance going on. It was dilapidated for
yeah,
many years, and now it's thriving, with life and excitement, and music really has I believe has been a really big part of it. We've got the ocean, we've got the grit, we've got the arts and culture, and of course the music scene, which is growing. Um,
right.
Other influence. You talked about David Bowie. Any other influences that were big as far as what you were listening to when you were younger?
Well, those were the main ones. And then, I listen to a little everything. I'm one of those. I try to absorb as much as I can.
Mhm.
I like a lot of indie rock. When I was young, I was really into reggae, and as I got older, I kind of moved away from that. Like, but I don't know. I'm always moving. I'm always changing and listening to new things and trying to find new things. But I will say that David Bowie kind of is the shining beacon in all of it. And I got to see him play once, and he was so good. And I just think that he's just been an inspiration, whether or not my music sounds like him to other
Yeah,
people.
yeah, that's
You know,
yeah. What was your introduction to David Bowie as far as musically?
my dad had some records, and they're kind of like a mishmash of things. But it's funny. I'm sort of the black sheep in my family. I'm the artist and the musician, and nobody else is. But he had Changes One Bowie, which was
Oh,
a collection, yeah, like a collection of his hits from the '70s, and it just hit me at the right moment. Like I had heard Space Oddity on the radio and didn't think too much of it, and then for some reason that day when I pulled that record out and put it on, like every song hit me like a thousand thunderbolts, and I was just like, this is just the most amazing thing I've experienced. And
yeah,
I
isn't it
feel that
wild?
way.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it's almost like you listen to it on a different level. Sometimes we're just listening to music; it's in the background. But sometimes we really just we're hanging out with our headphones on. It's quiet. We're taking it in at such a deeper level where it's resonating like deeper inside, and you can really feel it.
Yeah, and I tend to not, if I hear something and I don't think I love it, I tend not to write it off, because I always, since I've had that experience with David Bowie, and I've had it with other people like Bob Dylan and Tom Waits, and just because I don't get it the first time doesn't mean I won't be obsessed with it like a year from
Right on.
that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I remember the first time there's a guy, Bill Callahan, and I remember my friend showed me him, and I said to him, if you had played this for me at the wrong moment, I would have hated this, but we were up in the Catskills, and it was a beautiful day, and it was this sort of soft, strange music, and I was like, this is awesome. But I'm glad you didn't put this on at a different moment, because I probably would have had a different opinion.
Yeah, right. It's mood dependent, environment dependent. So much goes into it. Let's talk about the new LP. So the
Mhm.
first song, wow. Say so the first one I heard was Sage.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the first that I released. Yeah.
yeah, and then I watched the video and I was blown away. And I hauntingly beautiful is really that's the way I kind of that's the vibe I got. Hauntingly beautiful, the vocals, the arrangement. Tell us about the players on that on the song.
Sure. It was actually just me and �々𝘀𝘀. It's funny. It says on the internet that Mike Nordzi was on that one, but it's not true.
Okay, we're clearing up.
Sort of,
We're clearing it up here.
but Mike's on a bunch of other things. But yeah, I had written that song. My boyfriend has all of these stories about haunted houses that he's lived in. And
Oh wow.
then and he had a comment on one of them. He's like, there's just not enough sage to get rid of all the things going on over there. And I was like, oh, that's a line. Because you could take that and apply that, yes, to that story, but you could also apply that to all kinds of situations. Your job,
Sure.
you could apply it to, politics. It's just like there ain't enough sage to fix what's happening right now.
So is that how the song came together from that conversation and that line?
Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
And that's how a lot of them happen. And then, yeah, I recorded it. And then 𝘂𝘀𝘀𝘀, who lives in Bradley Beach, she came over and laid down some violin tracks. And my process with her is to get her in the room and have her lay down all her ideas. And then later on, I go back and I sift through them and figure out what's the keepers and how to blend it in with the music. So she gives me a mini orchestra section, and then I have to go through and pick it apart and figure out how to make it sound like something.
What a level
So
of depth it adds, and it really adds to the whole mood of it.
yeah.
Um, and then I saw that it was filmed
Mhm.
at one of my favorite places in the
Yeah.
Atlantic Highlands is the
Yeah.
the Strauss Mansion
Yes.
Museum. How did
Right.
that come about?
Well, we were looking for a haunted house, and and then we went on to there's a registry, the New Jersey Film, I think it's called registry, where people places they put where you can go on location and shoot some things. And I was looking at this, I'm like, this place looks pretty perfect. And then we talked to the folks who run it, and they're like, yes, this house is haunted.
Hmm.
So we were like, all right, well, sign us up, and they let us come in for a day. We had a real cine camera, Sony Burano, and some quick lenses, and came in and shot a little video, and with some Super 8 camera footage thrown in too, and that's how that came about. And John Decker, who's my boyfriend, but also a cinematographer and all these other things, he put that together.
Beautiful work. Beautiful work. So, had you been in the Strauss Mansion before at all?
I hadn't been there before. No, no, and I had heard of it. People had talked about it, but I had never been there before, so it was an experience for sure.
Yeah, I was just there for the first time last fall, I guess, for October. They did a screening of Nosferatu, the old black and white
Yeah,
vampire movie, and it was
yeah,
and I think Mike Nordzi was there to be honest
yeah.
with
To
you.
play
He
the
was there
music,
with his ensemble. They
right?
did the musical score while they played
Yeah.
the movie. It was really incredible. Uh, I didn't know much about it, but then I heard the story about the Strauss Mansion, about the hauntings and all that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
you could feel the vibe when you're in there.
yeah, totally. And well, we walked in, and one of the guys who works there, he's like, "You want to see the coffin in the basement?" We were like, "Oh, we came to the right place." This is, the vibe of the people who work there, who just sort of toss it off like it's, whatever. There's a coffin. Let's check it out. And just the history there, and the look and the feel of the place. And you go up to the top and you can see, New York City from a distance, and it's a really cool building.
Yeah, it's like that haunted house. It's like the haunted house on the hill there,
Right,
with
exactly.
spectacular views into Manhattan. Yeah, it was the perfect setting for the song. So listening to the song, the mood that hauntingly beautiful mood that I talked about earlier is definitely a big part of it. Um, when I was thinking about influence, when I was thinking about what I was hearing in the song as far as sounds go, I heard I heard in your vocals such a real. I almost felt like you were channeling somewhere between Stevie Nicks and Rickie Lee Jones. I mean, those are two powerhouse vocalists, and you were
Yeah.
kind of going back and forth between them.
I get those two all the time. And what's funny, the film just played at the Garden State Film Festival this past weekend, and somebody came up to me after the screening, and he's like, "Do you know who you sound like?" And I said, "Bob Dylan," and he was like, "Yes." In my mind, everyone tells me I sound like Stevie Nicks and Rickie Lee Jones, and in my mind, I sound like Bob Dylan.
Wow.
I was glad somebody confirmed it.
Well, it's funny because in my ear, it was kind of like both of them. It wasn't like either one of them. It was kind of like, at any given moment, you were kind of a blend of both of them, or either, you kind of went back and forth. And I mean, that's a pretty distinct. I mean, your vocals are spectacular.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, it's funny. I have no real training. I just sort of sing the way I sing, and and in terms of my guitar playing too, everyone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know," but my fingers do certain things. I'm not a virtuoso by any means, but I can play these weird little licks and things, and everyone's like, "What? I don't know how you do that." I think I just found the things that I'm good at, and I somehow latch onto them, and it's because I don't really know theory and formal training and everything like that.
okay,
I
that was
can't
gonna.
I can't explain much.
You know what?
You know?
Sometimes the explanation takes the magic out of it when we try to like
Yeah,
be real academic about it. So no
right.
formal training, picked up everything
Well,
on.
I took guitar lessons when I was a kid, and they tried to teach me how to read music, but I I was learning by ear the whole time. Like I really wasn't interested. So they tried to give me formal training, and me being sort of stubborn and obnoxious about it, I just didn't do it because I could just do it by ear. So why bother? In hindsight, I wish I had put the work in. But sort of conversely, I'm really just much more interested in my own songwriting. So I think I put the work in where I was really just focused in on.
And it
Um,
sounds fantastic.
well, thank you.
Is it real? Is the name of
Yeah.
the LP, and we talked about the first song Sage and the video. You said it was it accepted into the Garden State Film Festival?
Stage was, yeah, and it showed Saturday night, and that was a lot of fun. And we had uh Scrimshaw was off my previous record, and that was also shown in the Garden State Film Festival. So now we feel like pros.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I go to that party every year. Yeah, it's a cool thing that they do, and they're going for, Academy status, and with Netflix moving down the road. It's sort of an exciting thing to be a part of every year.
Yeah. It seems like it's growing every year too.
Yeah, and the films keep getting better and better as well. So it's fun watching that. Kind of similar to New York and Asbury Park, like you just watch something changing shape and finding itself and moving around, and
Yeah. Changing
it's really
form.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I just found out that Is It Real, the LP, was the number one added uh, LP on the folk college radio charts, which makes me happy. And so, that'll be coming to airwaves near you, including our own Brookdale and wherever else. And, it's a collection of songs that I wrote sort of with a haunted theme. And I generally don't like haunted things. I don't like horror movies, but we were watching a lot of Roger Corman, Vincent Price films, and I sort of got into it.
Cool.
And and there's a lot of metaphor you can pack into ghosts and hauntings and things like that. So it was fun to make. But I'm already writing and recording the next stuff too. I've got a band in the works. So and I work at PBS during the day, so I'm just generally overdoing it in every direction. So
I saw on social media when you were one of the social media pages, you had posted a little something about is it real, and you mentioned something about ghosts, madness, uncertainty, and change.
Doesn't
Do you
that
want to
feel
speak?
like 2020? Yeah, it's 2025.
I didn't know whether to chuckle or to start crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like those are I mean, they're themes that sort of resonate, I think, all the time. Going back to David Bowie, he was really into isolation and madness and things like that. When you're 20, you sort of,
Yeah.
or at least I really related to the feelings. And now I'm looking around at the world going like, I still relate to the feelings. With all the politics going on and, AI is constantly just like, what is that going to do to everything?
Oh, I know.
And, you know, so we're really in sort of like a sort of precipice of like, where are we going? And the songs, I think, reflect that a little bit.
Well, it sounds like you know where you're going. I mean, and
I hope
you've
so.
got, it sounds like you got a lot of energy behind you. You've certainly got the talent behind you, and you're making great things happen. Congratulations on the airplay that you're getting on the local stations. And
I appreciate that. And well, I will say too, I'm back on the positive side of things, is that I really believe in digging into what you can. And, there's a lot of outside forces that we cannot control. And I think it's healthy to pay attention to them, but I also think it's healthy to step away and dive into things that you love. And for me, that's music. So I'm really just trying to keep my head down and play music and not stress over things that I can't control that much,
absolutely.
It's best I
Yeah.
can.
And
Yeah.
in your process of doing that for yourself, you're actually giving all of us an opportunity to kind of decompress also with your music, resonating those vibes. Music is such a powerful force. So when you're bringing that out and using your gift and your skills and kind of decompressing yourself through your own art, your own craft, and sharing it, you're kind of spreading it out and helping other people kind of again decompress from all those external things that we really don't have a lot of control over. So through your music, you're sharing your gift, and we get to reap some of the benefits of that. So
Well, I
thank
hope
you.
so, and I'm glad. Yeah, anything to help, Yeah, yeah,
I saw
yeah.
you got something coming up at the Belmar Arts Center on Thursday, May 15th.
Yep, that I'm coming over to Belmar to the Art Center, and that's such a cool little gem of
Oh
a
yeah.
space. So I was happy they invited me. And yeah, and then on the 14th, I'll be at Wonder Bar for Happy Mondays, which holds a special place in my heart because that's when I first moved to town. Happy Mondays started up not too long after that, and
Oh,
became sort of my jam. So I'm
nice.
always happy to play Happy Mondays. Yeah.
And as far as music, we can find your music. I guess, are you on all the streaming platforms?
All the streaming platforms. I'm on Spotify, I'm on Bandcamp, Apple Music. I have a website, reneemaskin.com. So if you want links to those places, it's all on the website too.
Awesome.
But
And
yeah, if whatever you listen to, type me in.
perfect. I'm going to add some of those links to the liner notes. I'm so old school. I actually miss physical CDs at the days of the liner notes.
Yeah,
I was the liner note nerd,
it
reading.
was
I wanted
too.
to see
Yeah,
who was playing what, and little quotes
yeah.
that people would put on there, who they were thanking, how it was, all the background stuff. But we're gonna
Oh yeah.
we'll put the links on. I'll put the links on the liner notes for this interview, so people
Okay.
will have some quick ways to reach out to you and listen to your music. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and spending some time and talking about your music and sharing it with everybody. And I want to wish you good luck with things moving forward. Good luck with the new LP, with the airplay. And I hope to see you out at a live gig soon.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me and talking to me. And yeah, summer's coming, so I'm sure I'll see you out and about in Asbury Park.
Sounds great. Thanks, Renee.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. D.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.